Nonprofit leaders and founders, I've just recorded a brand new podcast episode that talks about how to generate traffic using the problem and the issue that your nonprofit addresses. It's a great jam packed episode. It's full of strategies, full of tactics. I hope you enjoy it. You're listening to the Smart Nonprofit Masterclass. I'm Jose Gomez, founder and CEO of nonprofitwebsites.com and Net Ministry. If you're a leader or founder of a nonprofit who wants to reach more donors, volunteers, members, supporters, and the community that you're serving using the power of the internet, then I'm waiting for you in today's episode. So let's get growing. Hello, nonprofit leaders and founders. All right, well, welcome to part one of a three-part series that I'm going to be doing about increasing traffic to your nonprofit website. And now, today we're going to talk about a very specific part of that. This isn't going to be what you think it is, though. I'm not going to be talking about three different tactics. I'm going to be dividing tactics. So today I'm going to jam-pack a bunch of stuff into this one. But it's around the way that I'm structuring this is around the nonprofit unifying framework. If you've listened to my podcast or earlier episodes, and if you missed that one, go back to it because it's very important for you to understand the concept about of what that nonprofit unifying framework is and does. Now, the reason I'm doing all this is because I've gotten so many questions about how to really apply the framework. How, what do I do with it? How do I use it to grow my organization? Well, it's important to note that the framework itself is kind of a foundational thing. It's not intended to spider out and help you to grow. It's intended for you to help ground you, to help structure and define you in a way that's easy to communicate, which is going to help you to grow. It's going to help you with your marketing. It's going to help you with your outreach. It's going to help you with your donor communication. It's going to help you when you're trying to determine what it is that you're doing as a nonprofit and how you do it. So that's a super key point. Now, just to review, the nonprofit unifying framework consists of three parts. The first is problem, the second is prescription, and the third is participation. So the first is problem. What problem or issue is your nonprofit intended to address or solve? Two, what's your prescription for doing that? And then three, how do people participate in your prescription? How do they get involved, right? And those three factors, I can't tell you how many nonprofits I talk to, and I've talked to tons. I have talked to literally tens of thousands of nonprofit founders and leaders over the last, over 20 years. There's a common theme that I see, which is that, either when I ask you what your nonprofit's about, I either hear a very abbreviated, really says nothing definition about, of what their nonprofit is supposed to be, or I hear a very long-winded 10-minute explanation that most of the way through I've already lost interest in. It's too long. It's too kind of deviated. It's distracted, and I don't know at the end of it really what they really do. Normally, when an explanation is too long, it means that you're either making up it along the way, or boy, are you distracted. So it's really important to know that the nonprofit unifying framework is designed to consolidate all of that into a really concise definition and structure for for communicating what your nonprofit organization is about. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is talking about that first part, which is the problem, the problem or issues that your nonprofit is intended to address or solve. And I'm going to be talking about how to drive traffic to your website using that specific piece. Now, remember, you've got these three pieces, and usually folks think, well, participation, that's what's going to drive traffic. I'm going to tell people how they can participate, and they're going to magically come to me and want to participate in my prescription to solving the problem. But that's one part. That's the third part that I'm going to get to. Today, we're going to talk about what strategies can you use once you've really nailed down what your nonprofit's problem or issue that you're trying to solve is, once you've clearly defined and iterated that. And I want to talk a little bit about that today. And this is gonna help because a lot of you have, listen, there's some of you that have amazing research on the problems or issues that your nonprofit is intended to solve or address. You've got information, you've got white papers, you've got research, you've got tons of stats, and we're going to talk about how to use that. Now, for those of you that don't have that stuff, that you have one sentence on your website about the problem that you're or issue, um, you've got to go back. You got to sit back down and do a little bit more work. We can't be lazy about defining and educating people about what it is that our nonprofit is intended to address. It just there's not enough passion by the time you get to the involvement side. A lot of you aren't getting donations, you're not getting volunteers, you're not getting grants because you're not illustrating that there's enough of a problem to even justify the existence of your nonprofit. So today, once you've done that, or if you've done that, this information is going to be super helpful. All right. So even if you haven't today, listen through so you kind of understand exactly what kind of information you might need, you might be looking for, and how this information will help. And hopefully it'll encourage you to go back down and just pull out a piece of paper and a pencil, or pull out, Microsoft Word and start typing out a much more engaging description about the problems and issues that your nonprofit is intended to solve or address. The first strategy, the first tactic that I'm going to give you here involves content marketing. We're going to talk about a few different tactics actually around content marketing. Now, content marketing, the whole premise of content marketing is that you're creating helpful information. And in this case, you're creating information that helps people to understand, to be educated about the problems and issues that your nonprofit is intended to solve or address. We're trying to help people to understand what the issues are, what exists, why did we create our nonprofit, what problem really prompted us to create a nonprofit around it. And once you have information, let's talk about the type of things that you could be sharing. So one format for content marketing, are your pages, your website pages, creating a structure around your website pages that allows people to click around and get interested in the various aspects of this problem or series of issues that your nonprofit's intending to solve. So, if it's homelessness in your city, you might have a page structure that talks about maybe a general description, a general summary about homelessness and the general stats about what's happening. And then you have sub pages that might talk about maybe homelessness around young people, another one that talks about homelessness in middle-age individuals, and then homelessness around the elderly in your city. And so you might divide your content into different pages that people can consume differently and learn different things about them, especially if you've got a lot of information. It helps to divide it out and helps people to process it. But it also gives you the opportunity to share information in different ways. So you can share that same issue, the information about that same issue, as different pages and give people kind of kaleidoscope. I learned that phrase from a dear friend of mine. You get to kaleidoscope the issue and help your potential donors and supporters for them to kaleidoscope it, that homelessness has different aspects to it. And whatever your issue is, they may be different aspects to it, and you can organize the pages on your website around that so that they can be individually shareable. The next tactic that you have are blog posts. Blog posts are a great format for sharing information, for sharing education. Now, one of the things you have to be careful with blogs, I see folks do this. They'll start a blog, and because they don't know what to do with it, they put a lot of different stuff in the blog, and so it's hard to find really the educational information. I recommend that if you're going to do a blog, keep it very focused. If you've got a blog that's focused on educating people about your issue, you want to make sure that you keep that focus throughout the time that you're publishing the blog. Otherwise, if you mix it with press releases and other types of information, you're going to lose people a little bit in there. So make sure you keep that blog really focused, or that you label the post very clearly in some way to designate which ones are the educational blog posts themselves. You want to talk about, there's an opportunity here with blog posts because of the timeliness of them, because they're intended to be time sensitive. You can talk about current events and news that's related to research that just came out, significant events that are about this the problem or issue that you're wanting to post about. You can talk about in-depth analysis, post really in-depth analysis, whether it's authored by someone else or by yourself, and always attribute any of the analysis that's external to whoever it belongs to, or link to them. But you can post, you have the opportunity to create a blog post that really gets deep into any specific aspect of the problem or issue. And again, these are interesting things that, because they're individual posts, you can share them individually by email, by social media. People can access them in different ways, and the search engines love that stuff. The other thing you can talk about in terms of blog posts, and you can share in there, are personal stories from individuals who are impacted by the issue. So, stories are really tremendously powerful. And the more that you can create that kind of a documentary, a documentary kind of style around it, if you could take pictures and include diagrams and or have a video, sometimes a video interview is fantastic, but make sure that you've got some writing as well. But personal stories are a great way to use blog posts in content marketing to educate people about these issues or problems that your nonprofit is intended to address or solve. And again, they are very shareable. So think about blogs as a way to again, it gives you the excuse, because a blog has these unlimited episodes, right? There's unlimited, it's like a podcast. You've got as many episodes and you can talk about any individual thing that you want to. With the blogs, each entry is an opportunity for a brand new thing. So whether it's a story, whether it's in-depth analysis, whether it's about current events, you have that ability to create a separate post, which creates a separate page that you can share. The other thing that you can do for content marketing are educational resources. You can offer downloadable educational resources, and they can enhance your credibility to provide your audience with valuable information that they can refer to or share. So you can do things like white papers. People can download them or share them. Ebooks, if you've got a great reason to write an ebook, and you can do this in a number of different ways. But again, focus it around the problem. We're not to the other steps yet. We're talking about the problem or issue. All right. Don't focus it on your prescription yet. We're only trying to educate people with this content. Infographics are also really great to use as well. So think about having educational resources like that. Of course, video is great. And also, even though it takes people off your website, think about sharing links. Links are fantastic because they give you these external links that you're sharing out. And if you're linking to sites that are also credible, then the search engines just love that. They see you as a great resource. Always think about, when you're creating content for the sake of content marketing, you always want to be thinking about creating the most useful information about the topic that you possibly can. So if this is about an issue or problem that your nonprofit is intended to resolve, to either solve or address in some way, this should allow you to show your expertise about that problem or issue. I mean, guys, if you're going for a grant that's intended to help you solve a problem, you definitely want to show that you're the authority on that problem. You've taken your time to research it, to know it like the back of your hand. You know the stats. If it's, let's say you're trying to address domestic violence in a particular area in your hometown, then you want to make sure you know all the stats. You know what's going on. You know what programs are currently available. What's out there. What's going on when it comes to the entire this entire vicinity of whatever this problem or issue is that you're trying to address or solve. So make sure that you take the time to do your research and really make this content rich, and stop thinking about this stuff as needing to be abbreviated. Okay, I hear this all the time, that things need to be short, that people's attention span isn't long anymore. That's garbage. You need to be as thorough as possible. Now, make your content scannable, make your content fun to read. Make it engaging. Don't make it dry and just all just a bunch of text that looks the same. Use section headers, divide your content properly, use, multi-column layouts when necessary. Really make the format of the content engaging, but at the same time, make it full, because you don't need to be abbreviated. If people are diving into the content, it's because they want to learn. And again, I mentioned a little bit earlier about videos. Take your videos, and again, don't just plop a video on a page and just say, this is what the video is about. Write something around the video, or create a library of videos and allow people to search through and click around the library of videos, kind of like your own little mini YouTube. But you want to become the expert at this stuff, and you want to share it, and that's the entire purpose. That's what content marketing is meant to convey, that you are the expert on it. Specifically today, we're talking about the problem or issue your nonprofit is intended to resolve, to solve or address. All right, so that's content marketing. All right, I told you we're going to throw a lot of stuff at it today, because I've gotten these questions and I want to address this as much as I can. And we're talking about driving traffic. How does this stuff drive traffic? Well, because when you create it, there's kind of an effect. And this is going to go into the second section. We're going to talk about search engine optimization, or SEO. When you create munchy content, good, thorough content, this is information that not only will you share, but that'll be reshared, that'll be seen as authoritative by the search engines, by the world, by your followers and supporters. They're going to pass it around. The better content it is, the more traffic it's going to drive to your website. Let's talk about search engine optimization, though. So search engine optimization, quick little primer, is just simply making your website, doing things to your website that make you appear higher in the search engines under the themes, content, the key phrases that make sense. All right, now I define it this way because some other definitions out there, but I define it this way because this is what makes sense. You don't want to be found, listen, I'm sure it's great to be found on the first page of Google under, drinking Coca-Cola, but that's not going to help you. I'm sure it's great to be found under some celebrity's name, but that's not going to help you because it doesn't make sense. We want to be found under the themes that make sense, and whether that's what category we're in. So maybe we're in, again, using homelessness, nonprofits that address homelessness, other kinds of themes like that, or something that's more local, so nonprofit organizations, homelessness Tampa, something like that. So you want to be thinking about what you want to be found under. What does it make sense that someone would be looking for, and then find you under that phrase. Now, lucky for you, it's not like it used to be in the beginning, where you had to give this a whole bunch of thought and then position the words you used properly in order to rank high on the search engines. Lucky for you, and unlucky for some people that try to game the search engines now read your content and figure out what it's really about. It doesn't matter what words you're using in that broader sense. It will when you're getting down to the nitty-gritty and you're fighting over page one positions. But we're talking about overall, to be found in the search engines. The search engines want to know that your content is helpful to whatever the intention of the person who's searching is. So remember, their customer that they're trying to serve at the moment of a search is the person searching, and they're trying to deliver the most helpful results, because if they do that, the person will continue to use them. So you want to be the most helpful result, and what you want to be found under is very important. It determines what you write about. It determines how you write. It determines with authority you write. And it determines how you structure your content. You want to be structured as, listen, if Google will determine that I am the most helpful resource, that I've written the most helpful and authoritative resource on building a nonprofit website in the world, it's going to rank me number one. And that will be phenomenal, because Google is now saying, we've read this content. The AI has read this content and determined it is the most helpful content in the world for nonprofits building a website. So this is the challenge that we want to give ourselves. What are you going to write about in terms of, again, sticking to only the problem or issue? What can you write that has you come up when somebody just types in, homelessness in Tampa? Will it be, if you're a Tampa organization addressing homelessness, will your article, will your blog post, will your white paper, ebook, or infographic, or video library, will it come up as number one? Is it truly the most helpful and most informative and most authoritative? That's the challenge, right? And we talk about, search engine optimization. Content and the substance and core of your content has become very, very important. Now, past that, we've also got to identify keywords and key phrases we want to use. We want to plan around that as we author our content. And again, it's not to sprinkle stuff all over, key phrases all over, and repeat words. It's just that doesn't work anymore. It's more about being aware of the themes, the recurring themes, and the themes that people are searching for on a regular basis, and then writing authoritative content around that. So we might talk about homeless rehabilitation, or we might talk about homeless feeding programs. Those might be phrases that we might see search for a bit. So that gives us a clue as to what kind of content, what would be helpful for, what are people looking for when they search. All right, so think about that. Think about long tail keywords, which are words that are two, three phrases, three, four phrases, two or three more words that often have less competition than more specific search intent. So homelessness might be really hard to get to the top of, but when we talk about organizations that address homelessness, that's a phrase, that's a long tail phrase. And so what we want to do is we want to look online to see how many searches that gets. And if we start seeing that that's a highly searched for phrase, or it's towards the top, and what we're going to see is we're going to see less competition on those phrases, unless other organizations, tons of them, have figured it out. But most of the time, what it allows us to do is be more focused with our content. And again, if you could be highly relevant and highly useful, then you're going to get better search engine results and positioning. Also, we want to think about our on-page SEO. So we're talking about things we can do to our page technically to just make it more digestible for search engines. So including a meta description, making sure that your title includes not just includes a key phrase or some type of a long tail phrase, but also that it is truly descriptive of what the article is about, and it's a compelling headline, a compelling title. So your headers are going to include that title. It's going to include your H2, H3, H1, H4 tags. Of course, the H1, 2, 3s are going to be your most important ones. But you want to make sure that you are creating compelling headlines and you are creating section headers in your content to help not just the people scan through it, but also the search engines to kind of know, okay, these are the important sections. This is kind of the outline of this document, and it makes for a better presentation and better positioning. Also making sure that your images use alt tags to describe them properly, so that those that have certain accessibility needs can access what those images are without seeing them. So you want to be very descriptive in there, and that's all going to help you with search engine optimization. Now let's talk a little bit about the next one, which is social media campaigns. So when we're talking about creating awareness, creating content around the problems or issues your nonprofit is intended to solve or address, we can't get around social media. Social media is the world's engine for getting issues and awareness of issues out there, and it's a phenomenal tool for nonprofits to use if done properly. One of the key strategies here is going to be to create awareness campaigns, where we're able to create campaigns and content that are about the issue, about making people aware of the issue, again, through educational posts, making sure that we maybe get some hashtags going, maybe even trending, and making sure that we're collaborating with other social media influencers and organizations to talk about this issue. So awareness campaigns and awareness content are really powerful. Making sure that you are constantly posting information about things on social media that are relevant to the problems or issues that you are trying to address. Now, it's important to note that, as a side note, but we'll come back to this point about paid advertising. So, listen, the fastest way to get this in the hands of people is to pay for advertising, but there is kind of a secret sauce to this, because many times your social media content about your issue may feel a little bit too negative to pass through the approval process of social media ads. So if you have an issue that's truly tragic, an issue that's truly sad that you're trying to address, sometimes you've got to reposition things. You've got to be a little bit stoic about it. At the same time, though, of course, the challenge is making it something that somebody wants to watch. So you might want to think about ways that you can do that. I find that the documentary style is really great. So if you're sharing someone's story, if you're sharing your own experience while you're doing something, so maybe if we're talking about homelessness, maybe it's just a video of you going through a street or an alley in your city and just talking about what people are going through. What I find is if that begins to trend, you can definitely boost that up as a paid ad. And so there are ways to kind of convert all this stuff into paid ads, but we'll talk about it in just a moment. So again, awareness campaigns, making people aware of the issues, and always keep the focus. Remember, you're super aware, you're hyper aware about the issue. If you're educated about the problems and issues that you're trying to address, you're going to be one of the most educated people about it, but everyone else is kind of living their own life. For some people, they're not even aware that these issues are even going on. And so you will want to bring awareness through social media content, video content, memes, graphics, text posts. You want to use social media to drive that awareness. And of course, as much as you can, post on your website and then share on social media. That's how to drive the traffic back to your website. If you're just creating a post, putting up on social media, and there's no link to your website, link to read more, then you're losing the opportunity, especially if that post really starts taking off. All right. So we're trying to drive traffic back to your website. And on your website, you control the presentation. So you can make it so that when people are reading and educating themselves, there are next steps. All right, so think about that. Also, video content on social media, fantastic. Video content is very, very underpriced. You can definitely get it out there. Post your videos, they're educational videos. You can do webinars about your issue. Again, storytelling is really compelling. Not just the stories of the people who are going through the issues, but the stories of the people who are attempting to resolve, solve, address these issues. Okay, stories are highly compelling, and if you've been in the nonprofit space for any amount of time, you know that storytelling kind of was, for a while there, it was the big thing. Everybody had a storytelling course, and everybody was trying to sell you something around helping you to create story. But the reality is, you don't need anybody to do that. You can do that yourself. Tell the stories of the people you're helping. Tell your story of helping those people, and do that as much as possible, and do that with the people around you. All right. So that's when we talk about social media, those are some key strategies there. The last key strategy or family strategies I want to share with you is partnerships and collaborations. So to create traffic on your website, it's about people knowing about it. And the primary ways we think about getting people to know about something is us telling them. But many times there are people who other people listen to. So if you have an Instagram influencer who's got 100,000 followers, they can broadcast and amplify your message very quickly, in a way that you may not necessarily be ready to do yourself. So being a guest blogger, or being on a podcast, being interviewed in some kind of a way, you writing guest posts for blogs that might be about either the issue or about nonprofits in general. So writing guest posts, inviting guest writers to talk about what they're doing or talk about the issue, because what ends up happening is they start telling people about their guest posts. So let me walk that backwards with you. you have a blog, right? You've got, let's say, 20, 30, 40, 40 posts in there. You invite someone who is a specialist in the area of this problem that you're solving. You invite them to write something for your blog, and you offer to share it with your audience. They're going to write it for your blog, but then what are they going to do once they send that to you and you post it up and let them know? Well, they're going to send it to their audience. So if they're an expert in their industry about this issue, it's most likely that they have people who support organizations or are very interested and engaged in that space. So by just having them be a guest on your blog or your podcast or your YouTube channel, you're going to gain a bunch of that traffic. As a matter of fact, one of our episodes here had, well, actually, we've had a few episodes where we've had guest speakers here, or I've interviewed folks, and immediately when we posted those episodes, they broadcasted out to their group, and we saw traffic come in right away. So that's kind of one way that you can help to gain traffic to your website, is that you create something that's on your website with somebody in collaboration with someone. You post it, they're going to tell everybody, because everybody likes the fact that they were just interviewed. They like the fact that they just wrote something and it was posted somewhere else. So the first thing they're going to do is tell everybody who they know to go over there and read it and go listen to it or go watch it. All right. Influencer partnerships are really important. Doing things like sponsored content. So you could always look for influencers that you can either pay, or you can do some sort of exchange for a sponsored partnership, sponsored content. They might give you, everything from a shout out to talk about your organization on their podcast or their channel or their feed. And then also doing joint campaigns. Sometimes, you can do kind of a win-win. The two organizations can work together to spread the word about each other to audiences that might be very similar in nature or have similar interests. So those are some of the things that you could do today to start talking about the problems or issues that your nonprofit is intended to solve or address in order to start generating traffic to your website. Now, why are we driving traffic? Well, we're driving traffic for a number of different things. We're driving traffic to tell people about the problems. We're driving traffic to drive them to our prescription to solving or resolving or addressing those issues or problems. And then ultimately for them to take action and participate in that prescription. Does that make sense? All right, so this is just part one. Next episode, we're going to talk about how to use the prescription as a way to drive traffic, because all three of these episodes are completely focused on traffic. Now, I know some of you might be screaming at your device here and saying, well, who cares about traffic? We want results, or we want engagement, or we want traffic isn't the big thing. Well, it's the beginning of the thing. All right. So Facebook isn't Facebook because 2 people use it a day. It's because billions of people use Facebook. And so it's important to know that traffic is where it starts. You're right, though. It's not the only thing. It's not even the top thing, but it is the first thing. So we're going to address this over the next 2 podcast episodes. I hope today has been extremely helpful to you. As always, I'll be posting my notes on our website at nonprofitwebsites.com. And let me just share one thing today. Recently, we launched, for years we're just building websites for nonprofits, and we were kind of referring them out for things like marketing or encouraging them to kind of learn how to do it. And over the years, what we've learned is just, nonprofit leader, you're probably really busy and you don't want to worry about marketing. Listen, it's enough that you have to find major donors and apply for grants and all of that. You probably don't really want to worry about your website and growing your website and having to send out mass emails and your Facebook marketing and your social media posts. And well, we've released a section within our platform, if you're a customer of ours, called Growth Services, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, we have had some wonderful conversations. We've had a number of customers who have just been really excited at the fact that we're now getting more engaged. Now with over 2 decades of experience of just seeing what's working and what's not working, we're getting more involved. We're getting our hands dirty in what they're doing. So we're super excited about our different growth services, and specifically about our Grow our Grow Web Presence care plan, where it allows us to just throw everything we have, everything we know, like no holds barred, get in the ring on your behalf while you're doing what you got to do to run your organization. We're growing your web presence in every way possible. We're making sure that we are on your communication. That your donors are constantly hearing from you, that the public and your community is constantly being aware of what you're doing as an organization, and that, man, that is just super powerful. So I'm super excited. I'm very proud of my team. I just want to kind of brag a little bit about the growth services because I think that they're just phenomenal. I think we're knocking it out of the park with it. So thank you so much today for listening. I hope that this information has been helpful to you. Guys, educating the public about the problem and the issues your nonprofit addresses is essential for building awareness and support. So by leveraging the content marketing, SEO, social media campaigns, partnerships, you can drive targeted and engaged traffic to your website. Now, these strategies are they're not only to enhance your online presence, but they're also intended to amplify your impact. This is going to help you to achieve your mission more effectively. And by implementing these tactics, you'll ensure that your nonprofit's website becomes a central hub for communication, for engagement, for action, and ultimately drive positive change for the cause that you're championing. And I'm very excited to see that for you. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Smart Nonprofit Masterclass. I hope that it challenged you in some way and provided you with the tools to effectively communicate your nonprofit's initiatives to the communities you serve. Now, I'd love to get more involved with your nonprofit and help you to increase donors, supporters, and community presence. My team's been doing it for over 2 decades. In fact, we're usually the team nonprofits call on when all the other agencies, service providers, and volunteers fail to provide the results that they're looking for. Sadly, it's usually after they spend way too much money figuring that out. Don't wait that long. We're looking for more nonprofits just like yours to serve and help grow, but we'll never have the chance to do that unless you reach out. So I'd like to point you to a free webinar that doesn't require any sort of email sign up. If you feel that we can help you after watching it, then book a call with me directly and we'll go over the ways we can best help you. Go now to nonprofitwebsites.com/apply, and I'll see you on the other side. Have a great day.